This is the Australian stock market closing report for Thursday the 28th of April 2016. In today's session, the benchmark ASX 200 rallied to the upside with buoyancy coming from commodity-related sectors, which reversed all of yesterday's losses. The index was higher by 0.73% or 37 points to 5,225. The day's trading range was 52 points with the high of the session at 5,239 and the low of the session at 5,187. Internally, the market breadth showed significant strength with 147 stocks advancing versus 39 stocks declining and 14 stocks unchanged. The materials sector led the market higher, closing up 2.67%. BHP Billiton closed higher by 4.7% to $20.57. CSR closed up 4% and Rio Tinto closed up 3.86% to $50.29. The consumer staples sector demonstrated relative strength to the overall market, closing higher by 1.8%. Asaleo Care was higher by 4.85%, Metcash was higher by 3.9%, and Woolworths was higher by 3.6%. The financial sector continued to struggle in today's session, closing marginally higher by 0.1%. Once again, it was the real estate investment trust that shined. The big four banks were mixed, with ANZ closing higher by 0.6%. Commonwealth Bank closed up 0.1%. National Australia Bank closed up 0.4%. And Westpac closed lower by 0.9%. The gold and metal miners outperformed in today's session, with Oz Minerals higher by 2.8%, Sandfire Resources up by 2.8%, and Resolute Mining higher by 2.3%. In economic news, Australian bonds rallied today as investors sought safe haven assets in case of a rate cut from the Reserve Bank of Australia next week. The Australian 10-year government bond closed out today's session at 97.485, up on yesterday's closing price of 97.390. Today's closing price implied a lower interest rate of 2.515% relative to yesterday's interest rate of 2.610%. In fiscal policy news, Treasurer Scott Morrison has said today that his first budget won't be a typical one. He said, quote, "We will continue to reduce the deficit and we will do that by not spending more than we save." He then said further, quote, "Every page that you see in this budget will be about growth and jobs." Treasurer Morrison made it clear that the budget will be aimed at lowering the overall tax burden and not increasing it. The five most active stocks on the session were Medibank Private, lower by 0.6%, Fortescue Metals higher by 6.2%, Horizon Holdings flat on the session, Telstra Corporation flat on the session, and Mirvac Group lower by 0.8%. The five best performers were Pacific Brands up 22.9%, Broad Spectrum higher by 6.7%, Fortescue Metals higher by 6.2%, Mineral Resources up by 5.3%, and Select Harvests higher by 5.1%. The five worst performers were Independence Group lower by 11.2%, Evolution Mining down 4.1%, Flexi Group lower by 3.7%, Covermore down 3.4%, and Bank of Queensland off by 3.4%. The Australian dollar is higher in today's trading, up by 0.55% to 76.42 US cents. Spot gold is higher by 0.6% to $1,258 US dollars. And crude oil is softer in the session by 17 cents or 0.4% to 45.16 US dollars. This has been the Australian stock market closing report for Thursday, the 28th of April 2016, and I've been your host, Aaron First. I'll see you again next time.